All right.
Alrighty then. Let's do it.
Hello, everyone. This is Donnie, aka Elevated, with Dota Alchemy, joined by Jenkins, and we have a new patch today. It is 7.18, and that means that we have some balance changes en route from Mr. Ice Frog himself. So let's quickly go over them and see which ones are going to be the most impactful, and then we will give you what we think are going to be the best heroes in the current patch to win matchmaking points with. So, first of all, let's go with item changes. We have an additional 25 seconds added to the cooldown of Aeon Disc. So,
praise the Lord. It was way too good. Way
agreed.
too good.
I think that we were seeing it in the pro scene especially. Everybody was picking it up, and it's basically just like a way better version of Lincoln Sphere because people go on you, and then you're still alive, and all the spells have been wasted. So I'm down with that. Echo Saber has been buffed. More strength, more damage.
Less damage. I think it's still Matt.
Yeah.
I think it's obviously a little bit better for strength heroes and for HP, but it's not really like a huge. I think a couple more buffs and you'll probably see this thing getting picked up.
Hand of Midas cooldown has been reduced again. It's the second time in a row that's been reduced. I think this was one of those items that was overly nerfed, and Ice Frog is slowly trying to bring it back into a potential. As a potential item that you could buy.
Still not good, I think. I think the meta is way too focused on the early game, so it doesn't matter as long as it does what it does. It's not gonna be good until the meta is late game focused.
And speaking of early game, Orb of Venom has been nerfed on ranged heroes. This was just one of those items that literally every single range support was buying because the 5 damage per second was stupid as far as harass. And I mean, 2 damage reduction might not seem like a lot, but now it's only 3 damage on ranged heroes. It's basically like you regen that almost instantaneously when you're harassed. So
yeah, that's good. It just was working in a way that wasn't really intended, to be honest. So I think that's a good nerf.
And the last item change is Maelstrom. Chain lightning damage has been reduced by 10. This seems like a really insignificant nerf to an item that is being bought on like basically all cores just because the buildup is so cheap. And it does a lot for most of the heroes that buy it.
And because Javelin is really strong too, so it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I think it's pretty insignificant, but much needed nerf because it's really good.
And let's go on to the heroes. So first of all, Abaddon base movement speed has been increased by 5. Alchemist, Grievel's Greed, bonus. They keep tinkering with this. I don't think this has any bearing on whether this hero will be good or not.
I think there needs to be bigger changes. If this hero is getting picked, it's going to be in the support role, so I don't think these are giant changes for him, to be honest.
Ancient Apparition has an extra second at all levels on Ice Blast. Bane, Fiend's Grip cooldown has been increased at the first 2 levels to 120 and 110. Slight nerf to this hero that's being picked a lot. And I'll let you read the Beastmaster one because you're a Beastmaster player.
Sure. Wild Axe's mana cost increased. That kind of hurts a decent amount because that's something you spam. Primal Roar cooldown increased. You want to use that every cooldown to kill somebody, so that's a big nerf to him. Movement speed decreased to 20. That's a talent everybody went. Armor talent reduced to 6. That's the talent everybody went. 100 Wild Axe's damage reduced to 80. That's a talent everybody went. So that's a pretty across-the-board big nerf to Beastmaster, and I think we'll probably see this hero fall off pretty soon because he's been nerfed in the previous patches too in pretty significant ways as well.
And Bloodseeker has been nerfed as well.
Rippin' Pepperoni's Donnie's MMR.
Not even remotely close. I didn't even go the armor talent because I think that that's not how you're supposed to play the hero. I know that all the pros are going armor, health, and blade mail, and I think that is absolute garbage and not how you're supposed to play Bloodseeker. But that's just my opinion. I don't think this makes a lot of difference. 2 armor on a huge armor talent is not a big deal, and 25 less health is not a big deal either. I think the hero has not been changed even remotely enough to make him not a good pick.
I think so too. I think he's pretty good still.
Centaur base strength increased by 2. Yay, more health, a little bit more damage, a little bit more regen. Chen has been nerfed a lot. Holy Persuasion cast range reduced by 300. Send back delay has been rescaled to be 6 at all levels instead of scaling to be very low. And Holy Persuasion cooldown has been increased a ton at the early levels, which means that you can't just like instantly have a ton of creeps.
That hurts a lot. That hurts a lot because Chen was constantly just dishing out creeps with that spell and just running to all of the camps. So I think that does hurt Chen a decent amount because he was so fast paced, but obviously increasing the cooldown by tripling it is going to significantly affect his early game, which is why he was picked.
Clinks has had his strafe buffed for about the 30th straight patch.
He'll still be terrible. Don't worry about it. He'll still be terrible.
The cooldown has been reduced by a ton, and the mana cost has also been reduced by a ton at all levels except for the 4th. I think that this hero is starting to get picked a little bit in the pro scene, and it's
a little bit, yeah.
Obviously a pub stomper. I have seen a couple pros going this build, and I've tried it out, and it seemed pretty good on paper to me, which is that you can buy a Maelstrom and then just strafe every single creep wave and push it immediately, which is where Clinks really struggled initially.
Yeah, no, I think Clinks is honestly pretty good. Like, I joke about it, but I think he is honestly pretty decent. And these buffs, it's going to get to a point where it's like he's been overbuffed, and we'll really hate this hero soon. Maybe not this patch, but soon.
Clockwork, power cogs, burn damage has been reduced at the first 3 levels. They have been tinkering with his cogs a lot recently. I don't necessarily know that those are the reasons why he's so strong.
It's a little strange because I think Clock's really good just because of the heroes that are getting picked right now, not necessarily because his spells are incredibly broken. Like, if the meta changes, this hero is going to be complete trash, I think.
Crystal Maiden, Crystal Nova damage has been increased at all levels, and Arcane Aura self-mana regeneration has also been increased at all levels.
At what point does she just get infinite mana? At what point are we going to see that change?
Literally. Dark Willow, Bramble Maze, total damage has been increased at all levels. Cursed Crown mana cost has been reduced at all levels.
It's still early game buffs where this hero does feel really weak in the early game, but decent in the mid to late game. So
Dazzle base damage spread has been reduced, but poison damage has been rescaled to be better at the early game. I think that this hero is low-key pretty good. It just suffers from the fact that Axe is a very popular pick right now, and that hero just absolutely makes Dazzle useless. Yeah, I think that Dazzle is a very good aggressive dual lane support in the off lane, actually. I've run it there a number of times myself. And basically, yeah, if you can avoid an Axe culling blading your Shallow Graved hero, then Dazzle's kit is really, really, really good. Death Prophet base armor has been reduced by 1. Not a big deal for this hero.
No.
Doom base movement speed has been reduced by 5. Not a big deal. Dragon Knight has lost 5 damage from his level 15 talent. Earth Spirit strength gain has been increased by 0.3, so...
this hero has been getting buffed for quite a few patches now. I have this feeling that he's going to just skyrocket into the meta at some point, and it's going to feel like he should have always been there. Just because it's like you said with Crystal Maiden, we just keep seeing buff, and it's like the list go for every patch. It seems like there's 5 changes to Earthshakers, like 5 positive changes, even if they're kind of minimal ones. Like this Echo Slime waves are not just disjointable. It still feels like he's getting buffed a lot. So I feel like he'll probably be pretty decent soon.
Ember Spirit Fire Remnant charge restore time has been increased by 3 seconds. That seems incredibly negligible.
Key split pushes a lot, so this could have an effect. This is one of the ones that it looks small, but it might have a big effect. We'll just have to see how it affects these like top tier Ember Spirit players. Enchantress
attack range has been increased by a little bit. Untouchable attack slow has been increased just at the later levels, or actually the last 3 levels it looks like. And Impetus damage has been increased by 2% at all levels.
I love this hero, man. This is like probably my best hero next to Pudge. I'm pretty sure that this hero is going to be really strong soon. I tried it in a game already. It felt pretty good. The attack range was great for laning. It was great for the impetus damage, especially because it was increased. And in the previous patch, and a couple patches ago, they keep changing, so the heal does a lot more, and it costs a lot less. And we're in a patch where sustain and harass lanes are really important. And Enchantress can do both of those, but now her late game is obviously made much stronger because of the impetus damage increase and the attack range increase. So I think Enchantress is just across the board becoming really, really good for the current meta. And even if the meta shifts, I think that she's always done the kind of solo lane dominance 1v3 thing really well. So she'll do fine in that respect as well. So I think this hero is like set up to have a really good future, at least in the near future.
We also might see her kind of replace Chen a little bit.
True.
Just because Chen was obviously nerfed pretty heavily.
Yeah.
Enigma has gotten buffed. The Midnight Pulse damage has been increased. The duration has been rescaled to be less early but more late. The cooldown has also been rescaled to be more early. The mana cost has been rescaled to be less at all levels, and then his talents have all been buffed.
All been buffed, basically, yeah.
So this hero is already starting to get picked a little bit in the pro scene as sort of like a much better version of Lich as a dual offlaner. And I think this hero is really, really strong.
I think Enigma's strong too. I think he lacks a lot of the things you would want in the current meta, but his skill set is so goddamn good. Yeah, sure, maybe he's not the greatest laner because you can just kill the Eidolons with some hero like Juggernaut or something, but he still has that black hole. His skills still do an immense amount of damage. This hero can like 1v5 you if he gets off a nice enough black hole with Midnight Pulse. And now these things are being buffed.
Invoker talent level 10 has been increased from 0.5 second tornado lift to 1.25 second tornado lift. I feel like people kind of didn't like this because it messed up their combo timing.
Yeah, it messes everything up. It's weird. I don't know if you would. I don't know if you would go for that really.
And then the level 15 talent changed from extra cold snap duration to less cooldown, which I feel like is probably better.
I like that change. I like that change a lot because the cold snap duration is like people would dispel it.
Yeah.
You'd either kill them in the cold snap already because it lasts a long time, or they would dispel it. So it's like the duration didn't really do much, whereas the cooldown is really, really, really great because maybe you're using it 2 times in a team fight now.
Yeah. Although the Forged Spirit seems to be the most popular talent. I think this is one of the biggest changes of the patch. Relocate now is a channel time instead of a cast delay. So that means
that's so terrible. Now the IO has to be standing goddamn still,
right,
which is like terrible. Which is so bad. Like, you can't think of this. Like, you can't have somebody. You have to have somebody tethered already to relocate them out.
Exactly. That's
they're gonna be
right
the next to them. Like that's so easy to just stun an IO who's doing that. It's just sitting there channeling. You can't do the thing anymore where you're like sitting way far behind them. You relocate, and then as you're relocating, tether them. That's like the main thing IO did. Yeah. This is a huge nerf to IO in my opinion. Like this really, really hurts that hero.
I mean, the hero is still super strong because of what it does and the Ag Scepter bonus and all of that, but obviously the relocate save was like why this hero was picked for a long time before all of the talent buffs. So this is a really big mechanic to the hero that's now super bad. Legion Commander dual bonus damage has been increased at level 2 and 3 of the skill. Leshrac Split Earth cast range has been reduced by 100.
It was too far in the first place. Like, it was way too far. That hero's cast ranges were just huge.
Lich Sacrifice 25 mana cost has been removed.
Wow, dude, what a buff.
Ice Armor has been increased yet again, and Chain Frost cast point has been reduced. I think maybe yet again as well. This hero has just been getting buffed, but it's the most boring hero in the game to play, and nobody wants to play it, so...
Nobody likes Lich, dude. It's good. Lich is tier 1. Nobody plays it because it's boring.
Yep.
Who cares?
Lycan, base armor reduced by 2, so I believe he has 0 now.
Oh yeah, he's squishy.
Maybe negative, and base damage has been reduced by 3.
I think he's still pretty strong, just he's a little bit weaker as an offlaner now.
Yeah.
Because his base stats matter a lot as an offlaner. You want to just have like the early trading capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could still absolutely play Lycan in the safe lane. You know, you still get Feral Impulse. He still has high base damage, which allows him to CS very easily. And sustain
oh yeah,
lane.
Scaling. He's gonna scale and still be like crazy because the minions do the damage, you know, and tank things and stuff. He's still good. It's just less of an offlane thing.
Yep. Meepo base armor increased by 2.
That's pretty huge.
Not a Meepo player, but that seems like a good change for him.
Definitely pretty huge because I mean, obviously all the Meepos get the base armor, so that's pretty damn good.
Marana level 10 talent reduced from 20 damage to 15. It's such a small amount.
I feel like these changes are so insignificant. 5 seconds on the Moonlight Shadow too. It's like these things are so small, and the hero's not good because of these things, really.
Yeah, it's good because of a lot of other things like the leap attack speed talent.
Right. The fact that she hits 20,000 times a second when you leap in is why this hero is good.
Morphling waveform cooldown has been increased at the first few levels. I feel like this doesn't really matter that much because people are usually just leaving waveform at level 1 and leveling adaptive strike at this point.
Yeah, people do that. That's why the nerf is there. I think with a lot of these changes, at least in the past few patches, I'm noticing Ice Frog changing things that it looks like it scales to be the same. Which I wish he did that with Pudge, for God's sakes, in the previous patches. But anyway, he's changing things so they scale to be the same, but they're shittier in level 1 because it looks like he's trying to change up what the skill build is. But I still think that since you'd probably use waveform like once in a fight, that you probably this probably isn't that big of a change. Like you use waveform to get in or to get out, and then that's it. Either you're dead or you're not, or you're running away while attribute shifting or something like that. So I don't think this is a huge change to him.
In the early game, you get one waveform, and that's your entire mana pool in Morphling. So It's like
Oh, that's true too.
so having 3 seconds sooner on the second waveform, you probably can't even use it anyway. Naga Siren Riptide damage has been reduced quite significantly at the early levels, which is good.
That's pretty significant.
It was very powerful, and Ensnare cooldown has been increased by 2 seconds. Also a very powerful skill.
Yeah, both of these skills are just skills where the numbers were way too high in the early levels, and Naga's other numbers are just way too high too. There's a lot of other heroes like that, like Shadow Shaman for a while. His grip was the duration on it and the damage was incredibly high just because it happened to be that way. And then people start picking it as an early game hero, but not really because of how the hero functions in terms of how unique the skill is. It's more so like, oh yeah, the numbers are high. That's it.
Nature's Prophet agility gain has been increased by 0.5, so he'll attack faster and have more armor.
That's pretty good, actually.
Yep.
Like, yeah, this is like a right-click hero generally, so having more armor, more attack speed is actually incredibly good. So that's a big change to him. If this was like a regular int hero like Leshrac or something, it's like, well, who cares? Because he wouldn't benefit also from that attack speed. But Nature's Prophet for sure does.
Yep.
So this is a big change to him.
Necrophos Death Pulse damage has been increased at all levels, and the unit kill regen duration has also been increased by a second. This is a hero that was mega popular for a while, and then they tweaked the talents a little bit, and I honestly thought that the new talents that they gave him were better than the old ones.
Well, they changed his like Ghost Shroud, and then the aura was like 200 less range. So
Right.
you basically had to be in attack range to get the aura on somebody. And the point of the aura in the laning phase was that you could just sit by the range creep and the person would get harassed by you. But it's not like that anymore. Like you're nowhere near as much as of a laning threat, and that's why I think these changes aren't that significant.
That's true. I still think that this hero is kind of underrated just because he has infinite sustain if you can last it well, like Bloodseeker is very popular. And like I said, I think that his talents are like as good, if not better, than they were when he was super strong.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's definitely like underrated. I don't think he's godly, but I think he's underrated.
Night Stalker base movement speed has been reduced by 5, and Void now deals half damage during the day. So how many more times can we nerf Night Stalker?
I think Night Stalker's terrible now. I think he's complete trash, and I'll tell you exactly why. I played this hero a lot during the open qualifiers, and the way that you play this hero is that you go into a lane, be really tanky, play against a harass lane, don't give a fuck because you sit there and you void creeps, and you get tons of last hits that way. Now Void does 40 damage, man. 40 damage at level 1. That used to be so efficient to use at level 1 to get last hits on creeps because it costs barely any mana. You could use your mangoes to get the last hits in a lane where nobody else could last hit. But now that's so hard to do because it deals half damage. Like, if Night Stalker didn't play that way, this wouldn't be as big of a nerf because you want to play at night anyway. But the fact is, he was so terrible during the day that what you wanted to do was just sit there and last hit creeps. And now you cannot do that with Void.
Nyx Assassin Vendetta amount cost has been reduced at the first 2 levels.
I don't know. Yep. Pretty small.
Oracle Intelligence growth has been increased by a little bit. I think that this hero is extremely good right now.
I think he's too.
Phantom Lancer base strength reduced by 3, so he's less tanky in lane, a little bit easier to harass, which I think is good because this hero just seemed like he was like way too strong in the lane. Pudge, your boy.
Oh yeah, meat hook, cast range, your max range hook at level 1. That is insane, and I've been waiting for that fucking change for like 2 years. I'm so glad you don't level hook now. That's just what you do. You leave hook level 1. It's a 1-point wonder. And you can go into Rot, which fixes the fact that Rot is terrible in the early levels. You can use the hook to harass in lane and then level up those points in Rot, and then all of a sudden you have level 5. You have 1 point in the Flesh Heap, save you a little bit of extra strength, a little bit of extra magic resist, which is more now because the buff to it. And you have that max range hook and max Rot. Like, it feels like Pudge is now level like 10 when he's like level 7. Very, very positive change for this hero, and you can bet your ass I'm going to be spamming this in pubs.
Ricky, base damage increased by 3. Yay, he now has like 43 base damage. Hooray.
Yeah.
Blink Strike damage rescaled to be 100 at all levels, which is pretty insane. Blink Strike cast range has been rescaled to be much worse early on and leveling back up to 800. Smokescreen AoE has been increased to be 325 at all levels, but the cooldown has been increased to be longer early on. So this is one of those heroes that previously you could kind of like 1 point wonder it, and now you actually have to level them up to be stronger.
I think roaming just sucks right now.
Yeah.
And Riki is exclusively a roamer because his laning is one of the weakest in Dota. So I think until roaming is strong, Riki's not going to be good. But with these changes, a lot of these people could see as positive changes. For instance, the smoke screen AoE. We don't really care that the cooldown is low because if you're running around in the laning phase, you're not going to be using the smoke screen more than once in a fight, obviously. But the AoE is great because you can kill somebody like a Queen of Pain that you otherwise couldn't.
All right, Sand King Bro Strike cooldown has been increased.
Thank God.
At the first few levels.
Thank God. It's way too short. So many times you see a Boot Sand King kill somebody because they burrow them twice.
Yep.
So that's a pretty big nerf to him.
Shadow Shaman Serpent Ward damage has been increased at all levels. Actually, the first 2 levels, 100 still at level 3. Not a big change. Just, you know, a little bit more pushing and fighting power early on. Skywrath Mage Arcane Bolt mana cost has been increased by 20, so you can spam less. I don't think it's a huge change though, because people are just buying like 5 Magos and just running to lane and arcane bolting people and then dying to tower and coming back. Slark, talent level 10, talent reduced agility from 10 to 8. So now you choose between 8 agility and 10 strength. You probably still go for the agility. Sniper headshot physical damage no longer ignores spell immune units. I guess.
Hell yeah.
So did it not do damage to spell immune units before?
It did not do damage to... You could not headshot BKB units
That
before.
makes no sense.
It doesn't, because it's physical. But
Yeah.
now you can, which is great, because just BKBing and going on a sniper was like one of his biggest issues. So if you BKB and go on a sniper and he's just beating the crap out of you, he might actually beat you in that fight.
Yeah, now you can slow the attack and movement speed, which is really good.
Yep.
Sven, great.
Damage increased too.
Yep, the damage has been increased at all levels.
Pretty good.
Sven, Great Cleave damage has been increased slightly at all levels. This is not the issue with the hero.
I hate Templar Assassin. I'm just reading this next change and thinking, thank God.
Yeah.
Why were those traps worth 1 in the first place, for God's sakes? If they're killing entire creep waves, what the hell? What? Like, techies. You get 50 gold per damn mine. What?
Yep. So that's much needed. Terrorblade Agility Gain is now 4.2. That's got to be the highest in the game as far as agi gain.
That's pretty damn high. That hero, I think... Dude, I'm telling you, man. I just played a game against a TB. He had 57 armor. Like, what the hell? What is it? I looked at it, and I held Alt, and I looked at the percentage. It was 70% physical resistance. I swear to God, my jaw was on the goddamn floor.
Tidehunter Gush armor reduction has been increased at all levels. Ravage duration has been increased at the first 2 levels. And his talents, level 20 talent increased from -4 Gush armor to -5, and level 20 talent increased from +24 Kraken Shell damage to 30 damage block.
I personally think that this hero is still a little too weak in like the first few levels, and if you're playing against a lane that's going to punish you, you will get completely screwed, and these changes don't matter. But if you're not punished in the first few levels, then I think Tidehunter is a great hero.
Timbersaw, Whirling Death stat loss percentage increased from 13 to 15%. Very small.
It's a nice buff.
But a little bit of a buff. Tiny, strength growth has been increased a little bit. Tree Grab unit attack damage has been increased at the early level as Tree Grab building attack damage has been rescaled to be a little bit less, but scaling to be higher. And toss damage has been increased early on and scaling back to 300.
I mean, this hero has like a 33% win rate or something. I'm sure that this list of changes to him needs to be like 10 times longer for him to be relevant.
Ursa, overpower attack count has been increased to be 1 more at all levels, and talent level 20 increased 12 free strike damage to 16. I mean, none of this really fixes the fact that Ursa just gets kited relentlessly by every hero in the game.
Especially in the laning phase.
Yeah.
In the laning phase, like, if you just pick some SK Lesh or something like that, there's nothing an Ursa can do.
Yeah.
He's just going to feed.
He actually cannot lane against like ranged heroes or anybody with a slow or a stun. And
anybody with a stun, yeah. That's,
yep.
Like, if you're laning against one guy, you can totally own them.
Which never happens
Doesn't
anymore.
happen. Does not happen right now.
And if people see an Ursa, they're always going to put a second hero in the lane against him.
Exactly, because why? Why bother? Why? You can just totally destroy the hero by dual laning him.
Yeah. Vengeful Spirit, Wave of Terror damage rescaled. Who cares? Magic Missile, stun duration rescaled to be just slightly more early on. Also, who cares? Warlock, Shadow Word mana cost has been increased significantly at the early levels. This is very necessary. I felt like I could use like 50 Shadow Words during the laning stage. So
yeah, you just had infinite of them. It's ridiculous.
I
get a couple mangoes, a couple clarities.
I don't think that 120 is enough, to be perfectly honest. I think
so too.
It's still like it doesn't really matter as long as you have like a couple clarities or a mango, like Jenkins said. You're still going to be able to Shadow Word your carry like every time he's below 75% HP.
Yeah, you were overhealing a lot with this spell anyway. Like
Yep.
it would tick for 5 to 10 seconds after they were full HP anyway. So it's like
This hero, I mean, yes, Shadow Word's a very good spell in late stage, but Fatal Bonds and Rock are why this hero, and Upheaval. All of his other skills are the problem with why Warlock is easily the best support in the game right now. Weaver,
it's really good.
Weaver Agi gain increased slightly, so I mean that's good for a hero with multiple attacks.
It's really good for him too because his stat gain has like it sucked for a long
bad.
time. So
yeah.
finally, this hero having the one thing he's been notorious for being terrible at, changing could really make this hero feel like it's broken. Although it is a 0.3 of a change, you know that is an extra 5 to 10 damage at like level 10 or whatever. So
Yep, and damage increased on Shikuchi as well.
that's good. 100 damage at level 1 is nothing to scoff at. Like
Yeah.
that's a lot of damage for a spell that it costs 60 mana and can be spammed. Like that's actually really good.
Yep, definitely. Wind Ranger intelligence reduced by 2, power shot reduced early on, the damage as well.
So sick of that hero. So sick of it.
Yeah, I'm a little tired of seeing Wind Ranger as well. Again, I don't think that these changes are going to make this hero terrible.
I think the Orb of Venom change hurts Wind Ranger a lot more,
Yeah,
but
agreed.
the funny thing is the Orb. I think what's going to happen is the Orb of Venom is just going to be replaced by a Blightstone on all of these heroes.
Yep.
That's it.
Witch Doctor Voodoo Restoration activation cost has been increased at the early levels.
It's a lot of mana. It costs a lot more mana to use.
And Wraith King Mortal Strike Skeleton's magic resistance is now 50%. Vampiric Aura has been increased at the first
Wraith
3
King,
levels
Mortal
well.
Strike Skeleton's magic resistance now 100%. Mortal Strike Skeletons are now immune to damage. Like, at what point did they overbuff these stupid skeletons that they want everybody to use so badly? God, dude, I don't feel like these skeletons are useful. I don't know.
Well,
they feel so gimmicky.
Dude, I mean, the thing is Ice Frog is dug in. They gave him an immortal, a rare immortal, that changes what the skeletons look like. So what's going to happen? They have to keep the skeletons. They're not going to change that skill.
That's true.
Like, this skill is here to stay, for sure.
Oh, no.
And actually,
Maybe they need to...
what's really funny is I've played him. I played him in a game one time where I think I had to pick early because like nobody on my team was picking, so I just picked Wraith King, and then I immediately got picked like Anti-Mage and OD, and I was like, well, shit. Okay.
My God.
So how do I play this hero against these? Obviously, I can't rely on my ulti, and I can't fight these heroes ever for the entire game. So what I did is I went Moral Strike, and then I went Helm Dom, and I went Necrobook, and I just became a Lycan, and I totally melted towers, and it worked, and we ultimately won the game.
God. Reinventing the goddamn meta, dude.
Yep.
Jesus Christ. If I see pushing Wraith Kings, I'm going to be mad.
I mean, it totally worked. It was really weird. And
if they have 50% magic resist and feel immortal,
yeah,
maybe it will be a problem. They can't control the skeletons though.
No, they just attack whatever they feel like. There doesn't really seem to be very good coding for them either, because sometimes they'll just like randomly walk across the map. Okay, so that's the end of the changes. I will say that this update specifically feels very pro scene focused, more so than anything else. Like, none of these changes feel like they have anything to do with the pub scene at all.
I think the thing to look out for across these patches that we're going to see coming is for a shift in the tone of the game. Geez, voice crack there. But you're going to see a shift in the tone of the game. And that might be predicated on some sort of change to the goal, change to the map, maybe a slow change to a lot of the heroes, or one hero becoming very, very powerful. But I think we'll probably see a lot more heroes getting picked when the game turns out to not be so focused on the laning phase, because that really is the problem for me right now, is that every hero that's good is just a laning hero, and that's all you really need to focus on right now.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See y'all later.